All right, in this lecture, we're going to be talking mostly about how to implement what we've learned so far, so in particular cross-validation, and we're going to talk about implementing it in R using the Tidymodels package. So this is a bit of a recap from a slide from early on in the class, but Tidymodels, this is basically an opinionated collection of R packages that are designed for modeling and statistical analysis. And what's nice about this is all of the packages basically share an underlying philosophy and a common grammar. And so once you learn how to fit one type of model, you can easily kind of plug and chug and fit all different types of models. And so we're going to be learning this kind of overarching framework for fitting models. And then as we go through the class, as we learn about more and more complex models, it's going to be really easy to basically plug in those types of models using this programming paradigm. So the way that it works is first you pick the model that you'd like to fit, and we haven't really covered very many models yet, and so in this example today I'm just going to use a linear model, so this should be just kind of a refresher of what you probably did in a previous statistics class. But the first thing you'll want to do is pick the model, and the second thing you do is what's called setting the engine. And so this is probably the trickiest part in terms of conceptually kind of what's going on behind the scenes. But basically what this means in R speak is that you're saying what you would like to use to actually fit this model. And so in R, there are tons of different packages that can fit all different types of models. And so basically, one thing that makes R sometimes a little challenging is that each of these packages to fit these different types of models often have really different syntax or really different coding styles for how to fit those. And so what the Tidymodels package does is it gives just a single coherent interface where you use the same syntax regardless of what type of model or what package the underlying code comes from. And then you tell this Tidymodels package what engine or what package you'd like to be using kind of in the background. And somebody else has written the code that sort of varies in the syntax for you there. So instead of having to memorize all these different types of syntaxes for all these different types of models, you just have to remember one type of syntax and you kind of give information on what kind of engine or what you want the underlying model to be run using. So you pick your model, then you set your engine, and this is what that looks like. So to specify the model, for example, if I wanted to do a linear regression, I would specify my model as linear_reg, so that's going to be indicating that I'd like to do a linear regression. That's picking my model. And then I use this pipe that we've been using, that you used in the application exercises and in your lab. And I pipe it to the set_engine function, and I indicate that I would like my engine in this case to be LM. And so in a previous statistics class, if you've used R before, you probably used the LM function to fit linear models. This is the most common one. And so what's going to happen here is this code is going to end up eventually, once you fit the model, it will result in the exact same answer as if you ran the LM function with that syntax. But instead, you're going to basically be building this framework that instead of doing a linear_reg, you could plug in any other type of model that you might be interested in, for example, a decision tree or something more complicated. And the same kind of format would give you the same type of result. Okay, so this is what I mean by specify the model. And this is kind of just to show you some different types of things you could plug in. For example, another way to fit a linear regression model would be with the glmnet package. And so if I ran this, I specified that the model I'd like to fit is linear regression still. But now instead of using the LM function to fit this model, I'd like to use glmnet. Or you could have this be Spark. And so if you're familiar with kind of cloud computing for really massive data sets and things like this, Spark is a great way to be able to do that. And so by just changing, I'm still able to fit my linear regression. And if there were other parameters or things that I wanted to specify with this linear regression, those could stay the same, and I could just swap out the engine if I was running it, first maybe locally using something like glmnet or LM, and then I got a much bigger data set, I wanted to run that exact same model, I could just swap out the engine to be Spark. Or if I wanted to fit a decision tree, for example. So instead of a linear regression, I can swap this out and write decision tree. And so this would be if I was fitting a classification model instead of a regression model. And I could put decision tree as the type of model that I've picked. And I could pipe this to, for example, Ranger, which is a package that does that does decision trees in R. So to see all of the available models, you can click here on this Tidymodels article, and I'm just going to click so you can get a glimpse of kind of what this looks like. But if you click this tidymodels.org, it gives you a full listing of all of the different potential models that you can fit along the way. And actually, I'm going to go back here. I think the search parsnip models is going to be the easiest way to do it. And so this lets you see all the different models. And so there's either regression or classification models. You've got the type of model here, the title. You've got, this is going to be the model type as it would be specified, like we did linear underscore reg or decision underscore tree. So you'll notice there's a bunch of other choices here. So there's like a decision tree, logistic regression, and these are all the different engines that you can use behind it. GLM, GLMNet, Keras, Spark, Stan, etc. So this is a really helpful table to show all the different types of models that you can fit. And just to remind you how I got there, you can actually just go to tidymodels.org and then click Search Parsnip Models, and then click this Read More, and it'll bring you to this nice table. Okay, so for this first exercise, go ahead and download the application exercise.rmd file and open it up in RStudio. And I want you to complete the first part. So this is write a pipe that creates a model that uses LM to fit a linear regression using Tidymodels. And then save this as LM underscore spec. And then look at the object. What does it return? And so you can go to this link here, and actually you can even go to a simpler link than what's listed here. You can just go to tidymodels.org, and you can click on that parsnip models, and it'll come up with that nice table where you can search all of them. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to work on this. Okay, so make sure you knit your results before you move on, just to make sure that they're saved, and then go ahead and move on to the next part of the lecture.